speaking of making good, how about Merab Dvalishvili making good on the main event showcase? 50-45 times 3 over Petr Yan. He's your winner by unanimous decision. A record-setting, star-making performance, as DC put it on the broadcast. And no one's ever done this to Petr Yan. That's for damn sure. What were your thoughts on Merab's big win over the weekend, kid?
I've never seen a fighter at an elite level fight other elite fighters and use their conditioning as a weapon like Merab has in the modern era, right? He's a guy that, his there's nothing that stands out as far as his striking or even his grappling skills, but it's his conditioning and his relentless approach and his timing in this fight that was so phenomenal. I saw improvements in his striking. There's no question about it. But his toughness, his conditioning is just on a different level, man. It was really impressive to watch, and it was fun to watch. A lot of times, you hear even knocks on guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Yeah, he's good, but he kind of wrestles you, doesn't do a whole lot. Here's Merab, who's trying to take you down, and people are loving it. People are loving his fight, and they should. It should be respected. What he was able to do to a fighter like Petr Yan is just unbelievable. And again, I tweeted this. If you're a guy who's looking up Petr's last few fights and you're looking at his record, or if you see that fight against Merab, you're like, who's this guy? He doesn't look like he's that great. It seems like he's on the downturn. This is a phenomenal fighter in Petr Yan, and Merab just takes him completely out of his game. It was unbelievable to watch. It was a lot of fun.
I'm a little bit disorganized in terms of my thought process on Dvalishvili. I don't even know where to begin. I have a lot of notes. One of them is just this overall happiness in combat. And we certainly talk on the heels of Jon Jones's big win. I did think Jon Jones had a little bit more tension in his body than is normally the case when he was getting ready to fight Ciryl Gane. But Kenny, I know that this flies in the face a little bit in terms of guys like you and George St. Pierre, in terms of just your thoughtful nature, maybe getting in the way of just total happiness on fight night. Dude, this dude just loves it, man. From the walkout, even at the beginning of round 5, like you can't wipe the smile off his face.
Loves it. He would have done another 5 rounds that night against some other fighter. I mean, the guy's he's so impressive to watch. He really loves what he's doing. Again, that gift of having that pacing, to be able to do that consistently, is something else. Someone asked me on Twitter, what do you think Petr Yan could have done? He wasn't creating a whole lot of offense. And I said, footwork would have helped. For him to be a better grappler would have helped. But how the hell do you create offense when you have someone who's shooting in on you 49 times?
Dude.
49 times? Are you kidding me? A record.
It's insane. And I'm going to get you all the numbers on Merab Dvalishvili. But in terms of weaponizing the conditioning, another note that I took, and Merab's a friend of the show, obviously Long goes on every show, but I had written down like Cheeto going to make him pay for some of these mistakes. And I don't even know, Kenny, if I can tell you what I perceive as just a novice MMA fan, because I really am not much more than that, right? I'm not even sure, though, that I can tell you what I perceive to be Merab's mistakes, but it just seems like at times he leaves himself open with this constant pursuit of offense. And I feel like a longer athlete like Cheeto with so many different fight-ending weapons and instincts. I don't know. I did write that down. So what kind of stylist or elite bantamweight is going to be able to solve him? Because he is literally dusting and dominating like elite bantamweights like it's nothing.
Well, I think you pretty much nailed it. I do think length would absolutely help someone. Cheeto, Sean O'Malley, guys like that with that kind of length who can move well and keep you on the outside is going to be crucial. You need long-range weapons. You don't want Merab in your face. You need to get some kind of distance established. Those long-range weapons need to let Merab know that he can't just charge forward. So you're going to have to be good at countering, good at establishing either that lead leg or that jab to keep Merab on the outside. Otherwise, you're in for a long night. You will suffer, and your soul will be robbed from you in the process. That's the kind of Merab that you're going to face. So I agree 100%.
With 11 takedowns landed, Merab Dvalishvili, the first fighter in UFC history to land 10 or more takedowns in a fight on 4 different occasions. That, of course, impressive in its own right, but his 49 takedown attempts, a new single single fight UFC record previously held by Cain Velasquez, 33 against Junior Dos Santos at UFC 155. Dvalishvili also ties the longest active UFC win streak in the bantamweight division, 8 consecutive wins. It's a 9-fight UFC win streak overall, and just absolutely incredible, his ability to pressure somebody like Petr Yan to the point where Yan was rendered so defensive. And by the way, Petr Yan has issued a statement on social media. I think there were some suboptimal things that happened during fight week. And, I don't think there's any overstating how challenging the travel can be for some of these guys from Europe and Australia and Asia coming to Las Vegas to fight against somebody who trains there locally. But Kenny, like Petr Yan, he just was rendered reactive and defensive because dude, like the memes out there, like, dude, can you imagine looking at fucking Merab Dvalishvili at the beginning of the next round? It's like,
yeah, it really does kill your soul when you're exhausted. You're doing everything possible to just survive, and you see the guy across you, just like he just took a stroll in the park. You're like, really? I mean, it's like you're working probably harder than me and you're fine and I'm exhausted. It really is. He has truly weaponized his conditioning to insane levels. And I don't know. He's going to give a lot of people problems. The other thing, I think the other thing is that Merab really did make improvements with his striking. And Yan was so concerned at certain points with his takedowns that he was getting lit up on the feet, either whether it was leg kicks or a nice combination with his hands. And Merab's hitting hard enough and his striking has gotten to a level now where you can't sleep on that either. So Merab continues to impress. It's really fun to watch him and see him succeed. One of the nicest guys in the sport, and Mr. Longo has to be a very happy man right now.
And we're going to get to Longo in a couple of minutes, and I am going to bring Dana White's comments on Merab Dvalishvili potentially fighting Aljamain Sterling, or not fighting him, I guess I should say, but I am going to wait and give those quotes to Ray so that we can get his reaction. But Merab Dvalishvili is firmly in the mix at 135 pounds, and I've said this before about Dana White. I do believe at his core, he wants a meritocracy. He wants the most deserving guy to get the championship opportunity. And I do think this Henry Cejudo re-injection into the mix was a little bit of a tricky navigation for the promotion because Sean O'Malley beat Petr Yan, who was the number one contender, to earn the title fight, even though that was a close fight. And then Cejudo sort of came back into the mix. So as I tweeted today, Kenny, I know Merab's not going to fight Aljo, but you have Henry Cejudo, who is now the number one contender, who has leapfrogged the real number one contender, Sean O'Malley. You have Marlon Chito Vera, who's won 4 in the row, and because he's just a fucking good egg, he's going to fight Corey Sandhagen when he probably doesn't have to. And then you have Merab Dvalishvili, who's Aljo's teammate, who seemingly, to me, has earned a championship opportunity. Like, what are you going to give Merab Dominic Cruz in a main event? I mean, go look at the top 10 right now. And you laugh, right? But I actually believe that fight is possible if Merab wants to fight again before he fights for the title, because you have a chance to add the name of the consensus greatest bantamweight of all time to your ledger in a fight that you'll probably be a 4-1 favorite to win. But I don't know what you do, man. I don't know what you do.
Interesting. And listen, I think that's a better fight for Dominic Cruz than a lot of people realize. However, these are all good problems for a promotion to have. I mean, this 135-pound division, John, is insane. It's ridiculous how much talent is there. You can go all the way to the top 10. All of those guys are absolute killers. You look at their skills top to bottom. It's really impressive. It is absolutely one of the best divisions in all of mixed martial arts. There's no question about that. I guess it gives the UFC a lot of different options, but it is very complicated when you talk about timing, matchups, who beat who. There's just a whole lot going on there.
And if Cejudo is able to wrest the belt away from Aljamain Sterling, how long would Henry Cejudo be sticking around? Corey Sandhagen obviously is going to factor prominently in this mix. He has a main event against Cheeto in 12 days, and one of those guys effectively is going to be eliminated from this conversation. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Dominic Cruz fight Petr Yan. Now, the appeal of the Yan fight has lost some shine for Dom, you can be sure, with the 3 successive losses now to Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley, and Merab Dvalishvili. But I don't know, man. I really do believe that it's a very short list of guys that Merab could potentially fight right now on the heels of just a a domination of Petr Yan that I'm not sure too many people expected. I got to think Danny Rube and Petr Yan are having some nightmares about Raymond Longo, but we're going to table that because Longo's going to join us here in about 60 seconds.